Hi, I'm Skye, and I'm from Makeup Artistry by Skye Drake. I'm here today with the Melton City Council Learning Directory to teach you how to create this look. In today's little video, I'll be teaching you how to create a pretty neutral eyeshadow look, some winged eyeliner, and how to apply false lashes. I'll also be showing you how to create the rest of this makeup look as well. So keep watching if you're interested. Before starting this video, I made sure I washed my face with a cleanser, as skincare is super duper important to a flawless base of makeup. So here I'm just applying a moisturizer to hydrate my skin and prepare it before I put any products on it. This is super duper important if you want that really smooth coverage of foundation. Now pick a moisturizer that suits you best. This one is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. I'm now just applying a lip balm to my lips to hydrate them, ready for lipstick application later on. And now I'm going to start my makeup application by applying a primer. Now this is just another hydrating product and it helps your makeup to stay and also look flawless. Now here I am just brushing my eyebrows. And first off, for the base of my eyes, I will be using a concealer. Now I just apply this haphazardly all over my eyes, and I'm going to use a sponge to blend this out. What this does is creates a smooth base for the eyeshadow to go onto, something that's a little bit sticky so the eyeshadow has something to hold onto, and it also gives you a flawless base on your eyelids so that the eyeshadows can shine right through as well. So I'll be using 2 different eyeshadow palettes today and using a couple of different colors from each of them. Now to begin with, I'm using a small blending brush and I'm going in with a medium light brown color. Now what I like to do here is apply the eyeshadow in the basic shape of what you want your eyeshadow to look like. So I'm just tapping the product into my eye here and then slightly blending out the edges so that I get an even coverage. And I'm just packing on this color here to make sure that we get a nice coverage of the color. Now I just take that same brush I was just using, tap off any of the excess product that was on it from the last color, and here I'm going to pick a slightly lighter color to help to blend that darker eyeshadow out. So I'm just putting a little bit of that on the brush and placing that at the outer edges of the eyeshadow. Now I'm using a little bit of a windscreen wiper motion to soften out those outer edges and really make it nice and blended. Just doing the same on the other side here to make it nice and even. And there's the blended eyeshadow. Now I'm going in with a big clean brush and just diffusing the outer edges even more so there's no harsh lines. I'm now going back into that Be Coyote palette and choosing a slightly darker brown to darken up the outer edges of the eyes. Now I'm just packing this on with a pat motion. And I'm just aiming that in a really small corner of my eye. Now you want to start small here so that you don't overtake the rest of the colors that you've already put onto your eye. Now I'm just placing that on the other side to make that nice and even, and patting and doing a little bit of a blending sort of eyeshadow movement as well. Now I'm going to take that clean blending brush again and I'm just blending back over the outer edges just to make sure there's no harsh lines again. Now for the main lid color, I'm taking a cream eyeshadow in a stick, which is super easy to use, and I'm just placing that on the inner section of my eyelid. And you can put this down kind of messily because it blends really easily and it's just a base for your eyeshadow color. Just using the warmth of my fingertip to blend that into the rest of my eyelid and make sure that that is all patted in properly there. Now here I'm taking a flat brush and I'm going into this palette to pick the lid color that I want to put over the top of that cream shadow. And I'm going to pack that on with this flat brush. It's important to use a flat brush because it's a little bit more dense and it helps you really get that product onto that cream eyeshadow. Now just pack that onto both eyes, blending as I go. Now I'm just taking that small blending brush again and going in with a new slightly darker brown colour just to darken up those outer edges again. Now I'm using that same packing motion and just making sure to keep it quite small to begin with before I blend it up and out. Now here I'm just taking that same clean brush and I'm adding a little bit of the light brown colour we started off with to diffuse the outer edges of the dark. I'm just blending that out because we don't want any harsh lines on this eyeshadow look. Next I will be taking the flat brush and I'm going in with that same lighter brown just to blend the dark and the light together. Now I'm taking a little detailed brush, going in with a light highlighted colour to brighten the inner corners of my eyes. This just makes your makeup look really bright and awake. Now for winged eyeliner, I like to use a cream eyeliner and brush. So I'm just applying a little bit of that eyeliner gel onto a palette and I'm using my brush to mark out where we want the eyeliner to go. So the easiest way to do a winged liner is to look straight ahead, mark out the outer edges of where you want that liner to be. It can be messy to begin with because you're going to fill it up and clean it out anyway. So I'm just making sure I'm perfecting that there. And you see it looks a little bit messy, but we're going to clean it right up. So here you start to join that line to the rest of your eyelid. So here I'm just starting on the center of my eyelid and then joining little lines together. Doesn't have to all be in one swift motion. I would recommend starting with small lines and then working your way on joining them together. So here I'm just perfecting the edge of that wing, and you see the messy line that looked quite messy to begin with turned out to be quite clean. Now I'm just checking to make sure my eyeliner is even, and I've noticed I've made a tiny little mistake there, but that's fine because we can just clean it straight up. So I like to take a cotton bud and some micellar water and just use that to clean up those little areas. So I'm cleaning the outer edge of the eyeliner here and just on the other side. And my head has gone out of frame, I do apologize, but I am just cleaning up the eyeliner here and using the dry end of that bud to tap away at that eyeliner. Now it has wiped away a little bit of that eyeshadow there, but I'm just going to go back in with that blending brush and apply a little bit more of that brown dark eyeshadow that we had. Now the blending brush didn't quite do the job for me, so I'm using the packing brush here, the flat brush, to pack that product back on there and blend that back in. Now here I'm just applying some mascara. If you do have really straight lashes, you can curl your lashes before you apply the mascara. Now onto applying false lashes. So when I put my false lashes on, I like to measure them before I apply the glue to them. And this is just to make sure that they're not too big. If they are too big, trim them with little scissors from the outer edge and not from the inner edge. Now I'm just going to take my lash glue and apply that to the lash band. And apply quite a bit, and then we're just putting that to the side to let it dry. Now, if you do have any product underneath your eyes that you don't want there, I like to take a makeup wipe and just clean that off a little bit before we go on to the next step of the makeup. Now on to applying foundation. Now to get that perfect shade, make sure that you trial the color before you apply it, and do that by connecting where you've got your neck to your chin, and if that blends into place, then you've got your perfect color. I use that same brush just to apply the foundation all over my face. Now you can use a bigger foundation brush as well, and some people have different preferences on how they like to blend their foundations in. My favorite way to blend foundation is to apply it onto the skin first, and then to take a wet sponge, just like the one we used earlier, and use that to bounce and blend that into my skin. I find that gives the most full coverage, and it also makes sure that it is blended in as naturally as possible. So it creates that perfect finish to your skin, unlike some brushes which can leave streaks. Now make sure when you're blending your foundation that you are blending it down your neck a little bit, which you shouldn't have to bring down too far if you've chosen the correct shade, and also onto your ears if you'll be wearing your hair up as well, because your ears are naturally more pink than the rest of your face. Now the lashes should be dry by this point, so I like to apply them by placing them on the center of the eye first, squeezing down the outer edge, and then squeezing down the inner edge. I like to also use my fingers here just to squeeze them to my natural lashes before going in with my special lash tweezers, which have a flat edge, which are fantastic for squeezing the natural and the false lashes together. I've noticed this lash isn't sticking on the inner corner, and that won't do. So I'm going to take the lash off, and then I'm going to have an easy fix. So I stick them together like this, and this is to create a rounded shape so that they hug your natural lash line much easier. You apply the lash glue again and allow to dry. Now here the lash glue has dried, and I'm applying it the same way I applied before, but this time hopefully it'll stick. And there we go, it's worked much better this time. Perfect. Now it's time to highlight and conceal. So here I'm applying it underneath my eyes to cover any sort of darkness there. I also like to apply it underneath my cheekbones to highlight that area. And I also like to put it on the other high points of my face. Now with this concealer, I have to blend really quickly. If you're used to using the Tarte Shape Tape concealer, you will know what I mean. So I've just gone back in with that blending sponge, and I'm using that to blend all of this concealer into place. Now I'm just blending that slightly outwards and patting it into my skin also. Next up is contouring. So I'm going to apply this on my cheekbones, around the tops of my forehead, around my nose, under my lip, and also at my jawline. Now what contour does is it creates the illusion of shadows. So what that does for my forehead, cheekbones, and chin is make them appear smaller, and it adds a little bit of color around my nose, and it makes my bottom lip appear larger. Here I'm just using a blending brush to blend this in seamlessly so you can't tell the difference between the contour and the rest of my makeup. So you can see on the one side I look nice and blended, and on the other side not so much, until I go in with this brush. Just to make sure that everything is blended really seamlessly, I go back in with that same sponge and I go over the top of all of the contouring. Next up is our setting powders. So we've got two options: a pressed powder, which adds more coverage as well as setting, or a translucent powder, which just sets all the makeup in place. I like to use both because I have combination oily skin and I like a little bit more coverage down the center of my face. I'm also applying it in the areas that create more creases, so around my smile lines and under my eyes. Here I'm just getting the translucent powder and I'm applying that all over the rest of my face to make sure that my powders are set in place. This helps with the next step of the makeup, which is using the powder products to contour and apply blush. I'm just going in with a medium brush and using that to go over the top of where we applied that contour. This just adds a little bit more color and definition to that cream contour. If you like the cream contour by itself, that is totally fine. Next, I use the same brush, tap off excess bronzer, and I'm going in with a blush. Now I like to apply this at the outer edges of my face to continue on with that contoured look. It makes your face appear smaller when it's at the outer edges, and I just apply a little bit to my nose and chin to ensure that the color is brought all the way through my face. Now underneath my eyes, I like to apply a little bit of eyeshadow with a detail brush. I'm going in with that medium brown color and just placing that right at the lash line. I feel this helps to bring the eyeshadow look all together, but if you prefer it without the eyeshadow on the bottom, then just leave this part out. I next go in with that lighter shade just to blend it out that little bit more. I'm now going back in with that detail brush and the highlighter and just adding a little bit more underneath my eyes. Now, even though my makeup is not yet finished, I'm using a setting spray. This is the first of 2 setting sprays that I'm going to use, and I like to apply that just to set everything in place how it is right now. This also creates a little bit of a wet base for me to put that highlighter on and make it stand out a little bit more on my face. So I'm just using that same fluffy brush to gently brush on that highlighter. I go very light-handed with the highlighter to begin with, and I like to also apply that just in those spaces where I have put that lighter concealer as well. Now I'm taking that flat brush and I'm going in with that highlighter and just putting that underneath my brow bones. Next up is brows. Now I'm just taking an eyebrow pencil and an eyebrow spoolie and I'm going in and just brushing them into the shape that I want them. Next, I take the eyebrow pencil and I'm just going in with small little strokes to fill in that hair that I don't have there. So I also like to create a little bit of an arch for myself. I find this is the most flattering, but however you like to fill in your brows is the shape that you should follow. I like a really natural brow on myself, and to create more of a natural look, I like to brush through after I've applied the product. Now I'm just measuring up my brows to make sure that they're reasonably even. I do like to say this to everyone that your eyebrows are sisters and not twins. So if they can look close to being similar, that's great, but they definitely don't have to be perfectly matching. Now I'm just going in with that mascara from before and doing my bottom lashes. Now who doesn't pull funny faces when they're applying mascara? Now last but definitely not least is lipstick. I like to start with a lip liner to create the shape of the lips that you would like. I slightly overdraw mine a little bit just to make them appear a slightly more plump, but you can fill them in however you feel comfortable. This also helps with the lipstick to last as well. I like to take a colour that is slightly darker than my natural lip colour when I'm going for more of a natural lipstick tone. And once that is filled in, I like to take the bullet lipstick and apply that straight to my lips. I also like to go in with a little bit of lip gloss and apply that on top to create a little bit of shine and also to slightly lighten this lip colour up. And to make sure that this makeup lasts all day long, I apply the last of the setting spray and we're all done. Thanks so much much for watching today on the Melton City Council Learning Directory YouTube.